Hi, everyone. I'm Doc Martin.
Hey, and I'm Dr. Pat. Yep, that's what this is, the Healing Hour with both Dr. Sharon Martin and me. And this show is about bringing the mystical and the scientific across that bridge of consciousness that lives in the world of possibilities. That's what Doc Martin does. Um, we got a great show for people today. I mean, and I have been talking quite a bit about what we're living through, how we're living in the world, right? Tell
Right.
us a little bit about today's topic, today's show, and what it is that you're seeing and experience in your life. I mean, you are a medical doctor, you treat patients, you're seeing things that all of us, perhaps, or many of us, have not seen. But yet, today we're talking about this little light of mine. So, what is it that called this topic forward for you?
Well, we're about, gosh, how much? 6 weeks, 8 weeks into the shelter in place. And people are either going absolutely crazy, have no idea how to handle themselves, have no idea how to make it without their restaurant. Now I understand your family, if you can't see all your family, you can't hug your grandkids. But then there's others that have said, I really like this quiet time. Some people say, well, I'm getting a lot done around the house. Well, that's good. But other people are saying, I started painting again. I hadn't had any time to paint. Or I spent more time outside. I took my son on walks in the woods and we were looking for mushrooms. So there's an opportunity here. And that's what I want to talk about today. There's an opportunity in this forced shelter in place, this forced quiet, to really tap in deeply. And instead of reacting to the rules, the jail, they can't make me, the government is, all those things that we feel like you can't tell me what to do. What about take that time to really figure out, do we want to go back to the way it was? Do we want to go back to the way, do I want to go back to the way my life was? Crazy, pressured, on every second timeline? No, I really don't. So how are we reacting? How can we find what really lights us up? And how can we use this opportunity? Because the shelter in place might be easing, but the sense of it and the caution is not easing up, and that won't ease up for a while. So how can we use that enforced quieting and deepening to our advantage? That's kind of what I want to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, we're hearing stories that go from one end of the spectrum, some of the really creative things, to the other end of the spectrum, the rise in domestic abuse. So we're getting a range of things that are happening. And I think that, I think we see contrasts in our lives at a number of points in time, but there's usually the lower end of the bell-shaped curve, the lower end of the bell-shaped curve, and then the whole big bell shape in the middle where most of us reside. But it's really interesting when you talk to people how their stories and the way that they're thinking about their world is starting to shift.
Yes.
The number one thing that I've noticed with the people that I chat with, it used to be everybody's plugged into the news. We're
Mhm.
home, turn it on, we're in. That is the one thing I am noticing that's changing now, where people are like, I can't watch the same conversation over and over again.
Mhm.
What is your sense of that? Because while I think we want to stay informed, I think informed is one thing, but every nugget and nuance of every aspect of what's going on is really becoming overwhelming for people.
Right. Well, you said the majority is in the bell and then the outliers are out here. And I think news, in order to gain your attention and to bring you over to that particular channel, picks things in the outlier zone. So it's the dramatic and the weird and the crazy. But I keep remembering, gosh, it has to be 15, 20 years ago, Andrew Weil, Dr. Andrew Weil, who was the founder of integrative medicine out of Tucson, not Phoenix, I think, Tucson. And he said one of the top things to do to de stress your life is to quit watching the news. Well, every time you get that turmoil of a perspective of the world that really isn't the whole perspective. Because if you were to ignore that and really look at what's in front of you and really feel what's in front of you, that's a bunch of drama that really doesn't have a lot to do with you. But for a lot of people, and people who get wound up, that stuff feeds them, and what it builds up inside, I don't see that as good energy, because people are agitated, they're angry, they feel helpless, they're lashing out. Nothing that I think I'm saying this for all people, that's not the qualities we want to bring forward as humanity. So if you're getting wound up from that drama of the points of view, that's not helping your energy field. That's total turmoil. So I'm kind of like, put it aside for a minute. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, but go be outdoors. If you want a real perspective on what life's about, be with the earth.
Yeah. I think that one of the things, Doc, that you're talking about is really, I mean, we're now starting to see, I don't know, I get a lot of press releases and a lot of things that come across, my desk, and Linda gets them too. And, we're now getting information that's being picked up to cover that most of us have seen all along. We're now getting information about this is happening, this is happening. What I'm really missing in those conversations is, what are you doing to solve that problem? If this is on the rise and this is on the rise, so what's the action? What are we doing? What are we adjusting? And one of the things that I think you're talking about today, which is very, very important, is we are hunkering down. There is a feeling of constriction. And so, aren't you asking the question, how are we reacting to that? Because we are literally days in most states away from, quote, opening up again, right? Um, but what do
But
you think is going to be the response to this?
well, when you said energy field, I want to talk about it from when I look at the energy field. We felt constricted. If you gauge your identity on everything that's around you, that can feel constricting. But if you can find your way to be inside, there's a richness within each of us. There's a richness that defies constriction. So when we quote open up, we're going to open up external constraints. And I think it would be a mistake to all of a sudden whoosh, let your energy field just go haywire to try to expand into all of that. I think we need discernment. I think we need to decide, okay, we're going to quote open. Let's take restaurants, for example. I
Yeah.
certainly don't want to be in a crowded restaurant because this virus is still around. So if I choose to go, I'm going to just remember, how many of you guys heard about this very unique idea? In the Netherlands, there was a restaurant either by the shore or by a river, and they made little greenhouses. So the tables were enclosed in little greenhouses. And so between each customer, they cleaned down the whole thing. Well, that was so clever, and it was actually attractive. It was aesthetically very attractive.
Yeah.
So I think you can pick and choose, but I really want to encourage people to make it your choice. Don't just like blah, open up and just jump right back into everything that's going on. Because I think we've seen that there is chaos out there. There is, for many, a ribbon of the death force. This virus has caused harm. We need to choose how to link on to the life force and bring ourselves forward in a very measured and discerning way.
Yeah, I want to take a short break. And when we come back, I want to really look at this really very, very closely. Because one of the things you're talking about is what do we discover about ourselves? What is it that emerged from this time that is so important to hold on to?
Mhm.
What are the different levels of creativity? What are the possibilities of what people are doing? How have people made shifts and changes,
Right.
in their lives? The stories that are coming to the forefront. And most importantly, how are you spending your time? We'd like to hear from those of you out there. If you want to join in on the conversation, I'd love to hear what kind of innovations, what kind of things have you done differently? And I've got a story to share as well. Happened this morning at 7:30. And when I thought about my friends doing this, I thought, "Oh, is that really going to be the same?" Well, when we come back, we want to hear from everybody. The question really is, what did you discover about yourself? And what did you literally put down and say, wow, I'm not going to do this like this anymore? 1
Mhm.
800 930 2819. Let's take a short break. Benny, Olivia, we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Guess what? You are listening to the Healing Hour with Dr. Sharon Martin and me, Dr. Pat. For those of you out there, I just want to make sure you know that if you want to schedule a session with Doc Martin, you can go to her website. We're going to give you lots of information today, drsharonmartin.com. And of course, you'll be able to connect with her, also to build in some time with her to be able to get some help on the transitions we're making, and we are making them. We didn't have a whole lot of time to make the transition into where we are, but we do have time now to make the transition back to something. I'm not quite sure it's going to go back to what it was. But the other thing is, we're taking your calls today. We want to know, how have you hunkered down in time? What did you do during this period of time? Was this something that you did to help another person? Was this something that you did differently in your own life to help yourself? What have you seen? What have you done? How are you connecting with your family? And this is Doc Martin. Doc, this is the thing that I wanted to say. I was sharing with you during the break that this morning I I have a friend who had a birthday today. Happy birthday, Hillary. And normally I wouldn't be able to make the event because my schedule goes from about 7:30 in the morning, right? And it goes right through. And to get to Seattle, to Green Lake from where I live, in a non-COVID-19 state, it's an hour now with traffic. Even on a good day, it's a half. But we couldn't do it because the places here are not open. So Barb organized a Zoom birthday party,
Mhm.
and we were all asked to show up and wear masks, and my mask is back there. I don't know if anybody can see it. Um, but we were all asked to show up, bring masks, wear something sparkly because that's Hillary. And here's what happened. Normally, this is only a small group of us that live here. But this morning, because of what they did, we were able to get our friends from Canada who were on there. Cosette woke up at 4:30 in the morning from Honolulu to be part of the call.
Mm.
And this is not something that would have happened that way.
Right.
And we each talked about, something about our day yesterday that made us all smile. What were some things that made us all smile? And some of it were really smile like, but some of the things that were shared were so touching, you know, and I think this would not have happened that way.
Right.
And I
Right.
have a close group of friends. There's literally about 30 plus of us, but this would not have happened this way. And my fear is that when we go back to sitting down and having the coffees and going down to Green Lake and fighting the traffic, that those people that can't go will not be able to do that. So I am hoping that we look at how to do both. But you see,
Right.
that's just one thing. What is your sense of it? Are we
Well,
going to lose some of the things that we've learned here?
I think it's going to take awareness and discipline to remember what we the new clothes, so to speak, that we put on, because it's going to be really easy to be pulled back into the same old, same old. But I can't tell you how many people that I've talked to, my patients in particular, who we do our visits now by phone, or for the younger ones who have a smartphone, we do it by uh, like a FaceTime visit. And they are relieved to be having a conversation, and without all of the check in process, the nurses, the this, the that, without all that institution, it's just me and the patient. And we have more time, and we're talking about things we would have never had the time to talk about before. And they like it. I like it. I'd much rather do my business that way. I feel like I'm really connected, and they've enjoyed it a lot. So I'm hoping we hold on to that as well.
So, when we talk about this topic today, and we're looking at what did we discover about ourselves, right? You know, when we were laying down here, when we were in place, I think we've gone through a shift. And the way that I kind of like to think about it, and I'd love to hear your take on it, is we went through the shock of it, right? Originally, but
Mhm.
then we went through the novelty of it. Great, we're going to be home, right? Then we went through, wow, we're really going to be home now for a longer period of time. So I think we've went through the range of emotions, including how unemployment. How do I get support for my business if I'm trying to stay? I mean, we went through a number of different things. And now we're back having to make that transition to now go back to some resemblance of what it was like. But how do we hold on to those creative, positive, new ways of things? How do we hold on to them? How do we hold on to these ways that we have spent our time that were so precious that we
I
wouldn't
think we
ordinarily do?
have, I think in modern society, we have um, undervalued joy, that deep personal joy of creativity, something small. And I think we're going to have to try really hard to remember how good we felt when we were doing some of these things, because there are aspects of us that have been quiet for a while that are just now coming to the surface. And unless you are by nature a very creative person and you live in that world all the time, some people do. Um, and but the rest of us are going to have to try to keep that fire alive. You know, I actually have our nurses got laid off in a rotation. Laid off being better because they could apply for unemployment and get that extra bonus.
Right.
And they were grumbling until thank goodness for the stimulus checks, because until that came in, and then they said, you know, I got more money being home than I did being at work,
Oh,
and
yeah. I just
I
heard that.
did I did this, and this. So they felt more fully alive in that week without the financial. In fact, if you asked them, do you want to go back to work? If you were to keep getting the same money, they probably wouldn't, because they probably don't love work. So it's nice if we can keep those things we learned in this time off and hold on to pieces of them, because it makes us so much more full, so much more balanced.
Yeah, I have to tell you, you just said something and I want to piggyback off of it. I have a friend that has a fantastic restaurant catering business in New York. And I have a number of friends that own restaurants, right? So I never have to worry about like eating good food. That's actually not a problem for me. It's a problem for my waistline, but it's not a problem for me. And
Mhm.
when I hear them talk, see, this is something you don't think about. On the other hand, my hairstylist can't wait to get back to work and is trying to encourage me not to do my own hair, but just to wait. But there's another side of it where my friend was telling me, I can't get my top chef to come back. And I thought about this for a minute, and it didn't make sense at first, but now it does. When you and I are talking about this, while it's raised up some enormous fears from people, what also happened is like the title of this episode, right? The
Right,
title of this episode, The Little Light of Mine. And I got to tell you, that little light is going off inside people right now. And
mhm,
they are getting a sense of who the bleep am I? Who am I?
right.
I mean, who somebody asked me not too long ago. I did an interview yesterday, I think, and we were talking, and I tried to explain this is one of the worst things you want anybody to say to you when you're in crisis, right? Everything happens for a reason. When people would say that to me, my eyes would be like little fireballs, right? And I've learned not to react to it. But what I've come to know about it is the depth of that meeting if you have faith, if you have
Mhm,
trust
mhm.
in the universe, higher power, whatever that is for you. Because what's happening to people is what you talked about earlier. Something is being ignited inside of them. And I'm not talking about the firefighters and the hospital workers and the nurses, the people that have just been on the front line. They have not been home having the time to think about this, right, Doc Martin?
They
We're
have
not
not.
talking
No,
about those people.
no,
They've had to think about it in a different way. They've had
right.
a different ignition key that got plugged in. But a lot of other folks are now thinking, can I activate my altruism? What have I learned about this? What have my children taught me? I'm looking at how I'm spending my day. How am I going to go back to the new normal? And I'm
And
not sure how we do that without a strong spiritual foundation.
well, I was just thinking that it's really a call of the soul. Because if I think about that little light, that's your soul essence. And so many of us have been fooled into thinking that it gets fuel from the outside world. Well, the outside world, perhaps, if it's what brings you joy and what fills you up. So you have to really be ready to know, and this is where faith and belief come in, to know that you can light that light yourself and you can grow it, and you choose what things fill you up and you choose what things light your fire.
I feel that song coming on now,
I
Benny.
know, I was just thinking of that.
I feel that song coming on right now. I mean, it is that song that, oh boy, are we dating ourselves here?
We are very much dating.
Come on, baby, light my fire. Let's take a
Yep.
short break. We're going to
All
come back.
right.
We're going to talk about just that. I want to know from all you out there, 1-800-930-2819, or if you're on Facebook, I want to know, come on, baby, what has lit your fire during this time? We're going to take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back. Oh boy, is that
Oh
bringing back a
boy.
few dang memories?
We're
Holy,
sort of, are we baby boomers or what? Oh my
oh
God.
my gosh.
70s,
Oh
late
my,
60s,
oh,
70s.
I actually mentioned the Doors the other day to one of these young folks that I hang out with and work with, and it was the funniest moment I have had in a long time.
Did they even know who the Doors were?
So I think this was a joke, kind of pushback on me, right?
Oh,
Like when I was saying, have you ever like heard the Doors? And I think this was a little 13-year-old like teasing me because this can't be real. I know she knows the doors. Yeah. And her answer was, yeah, what kind of doors? The doors that slam in your face, the doors that open? Are you talking about elevators? Are you talking about these French doors with the glass in it? What door? Now, this is a young person to me. And I just looked and I just laughed hysterically. But this is part of the time we're in, Doc. I mean, there are moments I have cried. There are moments I have cried. And there are moments where I have been put into the ignition of doing something bold, right?
Right.
And I'm watching people around me. But let's talk about you because part of what I'm noticing is this is a time for us to help people clear stuff, right? And you're going to do that later on in the show. Tell us about that for a minute, would you?
Well, I think we really have this unique opportunity to decide what in our life and things that we've invested in doesn't serve us anymore. And how can we molt? How can we shed that skin and move, step forward? What do we want to bring forward? And it's the things that light us up. Come on, baby, light my fire. Um, we've got to really take this opportunity. We've been given an incredible, and I see this as a galactic event. Um, I'm not going to go into, it was in a lab and then it was human created, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to see this as a real opportunity for us to have a dormancy, to molt and grow into something. So we need to decide what do we keep and what do we step away from. I think that's going to be critical. And I can help people with that on a personal level if they'd like. You can contact me through my website, drsharonmartin.com, drsharonmartin.com. Because if you have issues and you want to talk about how to get yourself all fired up, and I can help, I'm available. So just so people know that.
And that really is what we're talking about now because I realize myself in this time, I'm surrounded by amazing people, but I've noticed for myself, I had really had to lean on some additional resources for myself. I had to lean on the resources that I get, in recovery. I've had to lean on, resources that I get from my therapy buddies and, my coaches, my multiple coaches that I had. And that to me was a sign that I had evolved to a point because I'm telling you, Benny knows this. I'm a kid from New York. We are so used to being independent really to picking ourselves up and like boom marching. I did a post this morning because a woman that did so much for AIDS and the AIDS epidemic and caring for her son passed away at 93. And I was reflecting upon that time. I think we have heroes today in this time. See,
Mhm.
and I we're trying to figure out how to celebrate them more. You know what I'm saying, Doc?
I do. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And you are one of those heroes. You are one of those people that you have created a venue, Maximum Medicine, the Healing Hour. You are one of the people, one of our hosts, one of the people that have said, I am going to do this. I'm going to, you have a full time medical practice. You are a doctor, but yet you see that there is something that you are called to bring forward to help other people. And for those of you listening, if you have not spent time getting a blessing from Doc Martin, this is the time to do it. I have just watched you grow and evolve, and more of that's going to be coming with your book. But this is not something that we're talking about that is like a side idea. This is when we're each being called forward, each
Well,
of us to be called forward.
doing these radio shows literally made my soul jump up and down in joy. And that's what lights your fire. That's what makes you feel alive. That's what keeps you pushing forward. And especially if you can find something that for me, my criteria is it going to make the world better? Is it going to at least put good juju out there in the atmosphere? Light yourself up, find what you love to do. And so I'm very happy to be doing the radio shows because
And
I love
we're
them.
gonna do something now because we have to clear some things out. We have
Mhm.
to clear them out. That's what I have been finding. Um, Yesterday, this thing I've been talking about with the video, that thing we did, Jessica and I went down to do in October, and we went down there not expecting anything, Doc. We went down there to support people, to take pictures, to do interviews. We didn't go down there expecting to actually be in the video. And yesterday, the video drops the day after the song dropped. And I remembered as I watched this video how special that moment was and how many pictures we have to share about it, people coming together. See, but in order for us to even do that, Doc, Jessica and I had to clear a lot of doubt away,
Yeah.
a lot of it, a lot of it. And yesterday, when I watched this video, man, I just cried. But you have to help us now. You
Okay.
have to help us now.
Okay. All right. So what Dr. Pat is saying is let's just break away from talk and let's go into a meditative space for our remaining minutes. So just I'd like everybody who's listening, let's sort of drop away all the thinking in our minds. Nice deep breath in with the nose, out with the mouth. And let's just take a little visualization journey to get ourselves ready to really light up. And just a few nice, deep, easy breaths to get us in the zone, get us relaxed. And I want you to see yourselves going to take a walk outside, and there's no worries, there's no 6 foot social distancing. This is a beautiful meadow that's opening up in front of you. And I want you to start to walk out on this meadow. And every part of you is traveling along. You've left your thoughts of work, of home, of everything else behind. It's just you and this gorgeous green grass. And you stop for a minute and you take your shoes off because you want to put your feet on the earth from which you source. And you're walking in the meadow, and there's a beautiful oak tree ahead of you. The sun is shining, the skies are blue, it's gorgeous. There's light clouds. You come on over to this tree and you take a seat at the base of the tree and you lean back against the trunk and you feel the sun shining through the leaves above you. And you're very, very peaceful. And you start to settle into a little bit of an altered state. You settle into a little bit of a space where you just are in contact with your higher self. You're in contact with your soul. Your spirit guides gather around. And you take a minute and scan your energy field, scan your knowing, scan through your body, through your thoughts. And you're scanning to see, and it'll come to your mind right away. You don't have to strain for this, you'll just know it. And remember, your spirit guides and higher self are here to help. What doesn't fit anymore? What do you need to leave behind when we come out of this hunker down phase? What are you ready to step forward out of? So just energetically, if you would, reach around your field and find that and let it go. Push it aside. Let it go. Let's just take a few moments for you to think about those things and scan your field. Just one by one, just, I really don't want to work the way I did. I really don't want to live the way I did. I loved drawing. I want to keep that. I don't want to do all this rush, rush. I love the quiet. I'm going to keep the quiet. I adopted a dog. I love being with animals. I'm going to keep that. What things no longer serve you can be gone now. And as you release them, you can feel lighter and you feel more connected with that soul quality, that deep knowing of that essence of you. And as you're leaning back against this glorious oak tree, and you can feel down in the center of your chest, and even if you want to travel there, travel to your sacred space of your heart. Travel there into that beautiful chamber where your essence lives. That's where spirit connects with your soul. That's where your light lives. And as you're sitting, you get in that chamber and you make yourself comfortable in your sacred space of your heart. And you reach down and you light a candle and you set it on the table beside you. That light of the candle springs up and you're reminded of the things that light you up and you feel them welling up inside you. You always wanted to compose music, so you're going to take music lessons again. You always wanted to go and take a class, maybe learn from a master chef. You always wanted to have more time to take hikes. You want to hike the Appalachian Trail, or for those of you in the West Coast, hike up in the Pacific Northwest. What is it that you love to do and you're going to bring forward? And as you think about it, as you feel it and how it makes you feel so glorious and wonderful, watch the candlelight grow and build. Watch its flames strengthen. And it's going to take a few moments here for you to feel what you love. Feel what you love and have it expand in your field. Have it just fill you up, expansive, expansive. And as you do, you can see that flame getting stronger and stronger. And in contrast, if a thought comes, feels like a duty, something you are forced to do, you can kind of see that the flame kind of flickers and maybe even subdues. So focusing entirely on lighting that flame stronger and stronger and stronger. And feel it because it's what makes you filled with joy. It's what makes you expand. It's what you can feel your heart leap. And you're here in the sacred space of your heart, in your personal sanctuary, where your soul is bringing forth the essence that you love, the essence that makes you jump for joy, leap in the air, and make that fire stronger and stronger. We're just going to do that for a few more moments for you to really search and feel. This is about feeling. Feel how you love something and you want more of that in your life. Feel that. Feel it and see the flame respond in turn. And our guides are here. Our higher selves are here. Angel energy, high, high, celestial soul energy here, speaking to all of us. Lighting that candle, making that flame leap bigger and bigger, strong. That's the essence of you. That's your joy. And while we have this beautiful space, let's make sure we really make the most of it and switch our attention as we scan our own field and we scan as we sit in this control center of our heart space, scan our field, scan our knowings. You'll know, you'll know what it is. What is it that really holds you back? And maybe it's time to step away. Let's use this flame and this sacred space time to bring us the courage to make that first step to get away from something that really doesn't enliven us, because we're all about maximizing our life force right now. And just really be honest with yourself and allow this time of sitting with your flame to build your courage to take that step. Build your courage. This is about your essence being most fully expressed. Using this time, this quiet space to do that. And you know, you can always come back here when you're in a relaxed and meditative space. Your sacred space of your heart is here all the time waiting for you. All the time where your soul and spirit connect. This is where things happen. This is where you create your destiny. So really use this space right now that we've created among all of us here to bring forward the courage to take a step. And before we leave this beautiful space, we're just going to ask for either a higher self, an angel, a spirit guide, some kind of knowing is going to appear in the room before you. And it's going to bring you a message. And that message may be written down on a piece of paper in front of you. Perhaps a book opens up in front of you. Perhaps it's a whisper in your ear. Perhaps you just know. But this is one thing that you are being told, one knowing that's going to help you in your journey to step more fully. So take this message, however it arrives. Maybe it's a beam of color, maybe a butterfly flapped into the room. Maybe a power animal walked in and dropped it at your side. Take this message and know it. And remember to bring it back with you as we come back, when we come back to the world. And now, always with gratitude, gratitude to all the energies that were here in the sacred space. Thank you for this time, knowing you can always come back. Take your leave and leave the sacred space of your heart and come back out to the bottom of the base of the tree. And standing up gently from the base of the tree, if you're a tree hugger, you hug the tree with thanks for it being your anchor point today. And come on and walk back through the meadow, the grass, the sun shining on you. You are newly lit up. You are expanded. You are ready for your fuller expression. You have lit your own fire. Come on back, full of fire, and be back now in this space and this time. And we're here. And
That was
we're back.
so beautiful.
I could really
Wow.
feel it. Oof.
Wow. We're going to go ahead and pull this meditation off after we're done, Doc, and we'll be able to make it available for you to share with everyone.
Perfect.
Because I know for myself, as you were doing that, I could just feel the movement but I couldn't feel the things leaving, but they left. And the reason I know they left is
Mhm.
because I was just flooded with these possibilities about something.
Ooh, I like that.
That's the beauty of that,
Mhm.
right? That's the beauty of it. Doc Martin, everybody, would you please tell folks how they can contact you directly, how they can work with you?
Sure.
You also do beautiful stone blessing ritual too. Tell folks about that too.
Well, I was just reflecting as I was thinking about that meditation that, by the way, kind of just my higher self brought it forward. But that's what maximum medicine is. That's about us being the absolutely biggest expression of ourself that we can be. And that's what my work is. I use esoteric work and shamanic healing to work with people energetically to help bring forth the maximum that you can be. So that's drsharonmartin.com, drsharonmartin.com. You can contact me through that. The email is on there. That's the simplest way to do it. And you can read about all my services on the website. And that's what I'm all about is helping you be the biggest. And I mean big in terms of soul expression, the biggest flame you can be. So come on, baby, light our fire.
That's what I'm talking about. Dr. Sharon Martin, everybody. I am Dr. Pat, and I just want to say to all of you, as I've always said, you are the best listeners on the planet. For those of you that are pinging me, yes, we will pull this particular part off. Olivia is going to do some work on it, and we'll hand it back over to Doc Martin and share it with her, as well as share it with whomever she'd like us to share it with. So, just so you know, are listening to you, we hear you, and there'll be much more of this to come. Doc, thank you so very
Wonderful.
much.
Benny, thank you for that great song. Olivia,
Yep.
thank you. Dr. Pat, love being here.
All right,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
I love this. And by the way, please check out this beautiful stone blessing that Doc Martin does. You're going to see lots more of that, but powerful is an understatement. Understatement. Thank
Oh,
you all. We'll see you next time.
thank you.